Hey there, it's Lacey J, here to ask you to go to spacebearmedia.com right now to access all our content, buy yourself some merch, and most importantly, send us a message, a question, fan mail, even hate mail. We'll respond on YouTube. Also, please remember to rate and review the podcast on your favorite app or share it with someone you know who loves Lost. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Lost in My 40s, Season 5, Episode 14. It's called The Variable. It's a Faraday and Eloise episode. It's a Derek episode. But first, how's everybody doing today?
Awesome.
Doing great.
Great.
Yay! I'm very excited for this episode and the next one and then the next one and then the next one because that's the end of the season and it's all so good.
And the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one.
I pretty much have almost no idea what's going to happen going forward.
This is so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every episode is a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
I know. I'm kind of loving it. Well,
I'm
yes,
I'm almost wondering at this point if I actually watched this far because like all of this stuff is completely new. I kept thinking, when I watch it, I'll remember it at some point. None of it's coming to me. So, I mean, I am getting older, so that could be it as well. Or maybe it was so long ago when I watched it, or maybe I didn't find the last season that memorable. It's one of those or some combination of those, but I don't remember shit at this point.
Well, you know, there is controversy about the last season. We'll talk about that more in a couple months, a few months. Regarding whether or not it's memorable. It does, some people didn't like it. People like me absolutely fucking loved it. But we'll get there. Today, however, Benjamin, could you please update us on where we were after Season 5, Episode 13 in our power rankings?
Yes, I can. After Episode 13, we had Aaron dropping out of the bottom three, taking Redzinski taking his place with negative 43 points. We have Ethan holding up the second spot with negative 45 points, and Charles Widmore at the bottom with negative 52 points.
And I do keep posting a picture of 2-day-old Ethan every week on our Facebook page and Instagram. So
last week it was like 12-year-old Ethan.
Yeah, exactly. 12-year-old psycho.
Well, I still use the baby picture because it's funnier, but that's okay. And on the top.
Yeah, at the medals podium, we've got Dan Faraday for the bronze with 55 points. Locke for the silver with 61 points. And Sawyer for the gold with 117 points.
What? Looks like Sawyer's going to be our first double gold power rankings winner. Lucky him.
You sounded like Mr. Owl right there.
Did I? The one that like with Tootsie Roll Pops?
Yeah. That's what that definitely reminded me of.
2, 3.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. All right. Derek, please take us through the variable.
All right, we are in 2007, off the island, and Desmond is being rushed down the corridor of a hospital on a gurney after being shot by Benjamin Linus. A man yells, "He's coding, gunshot wound, he's crashing."
Can I please just point out here that they have absolutely no monitoring equipment on this guy, and nobody had a stethoscope on his body, and there's no way you can tell that somebody is coding if they're just laying there. Like, I mean, he could be unconscious.
Right, no
he
monitor.
could be
Pretty dumb.
You can't know that his heart is stopping if you're not monitoring his fucking heart. Anyway, sorry. I get so mad at medical stuff.
You ever thought maybe he was a computer programmer and he just shouldn't have been doing it at that point?
He's not coding, guys.
Stop it.
Get
He's
him back
coding.
to work. All right. Okay. Sorry.
All right, a distraught Penny is there with kiddo Charlie, asking if Desmond will be okay. The doctor tells his team to get Desmond into Bay 7 and tells Penny she has to wait there. She's begging to know what's happening, but the doctor says, "Please, ma'am, wait here. We'll let you know as soon as we know anything. We're going to do everything we can. Please just wait. A crying Charlie says, Daddy. Penny, crying as well, says, he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay.
It's funny that the doctor's really, really remiss to tell her anything, even though they're screaming he's coding while he's coming in.
Well,
he'll be all right.
Also,
Is this a HIPAA thing or something?
I know, right?
Yeah.
But also, they're like running down a corridor of a hospital. This is not how hospitals work.
No.
If he got there in an ambulance, she doesn't follow him. It just drives me absolutely bananas.
Yeah, I didn't think they did.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
At least this hospital's well lit.
Oh, that's a good point. They did have the lights on, but probably not in the OR. They had all the lights off in there.
They got to go in there. Like you don't actually want to see where you're cutting people's internal organs. Like
No.
no.
All right. Anyways,
A few moments later, Penny and Charlie are in the waiting room. Eloise harking.
Eloise is harking in the corner.
Harkonnen. Yeah, there you go.
Eloise Harkonnen, like from Dune.
Yeah.
I could see her as part of that world.
She actually could be a Harkonnen. Yeah.
You think so? We'll get more into that later about how does she have a choice at the end of this episode, or is she just stone cold bitch, which would make her a Harkonnen?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Derek.
Eloise Hawking approaches and asks how old he is. Penny says he's 2, and Eloise comments that he's got his father's hair.
What?
Penny, what?
Who the fuck are you, lady?
Penny inquires if they know each other, and Eloise says, no, but your husband does. I'm Eloise Hawking, and I believe it's my son's fault that Desmond has been shot. Penny asks, your son is Benjamin Linus? Miss Hawking scoffs and says, good Lord, no. My son is Daniel Faraday. Hell no, he's not my
It's
son.
like, ew, gross.
Good Lord, no. Ew.
So do you think they use the name Hawking to sort of like elicit the idea of like Stephen Hawking?
Stephen
Hawking. Super brilliant physicist sort of thing? Is that intentional?
I guess you're going to have to wait until season 6 is over and we have our bonus episode called What's in a Name?
Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
But yes, there are many characters named after scientists and philosophers. John Locke. All right, go ahead.
So 30 years earlier, which happens to be 1977 on the island, we rewatched last week's ending when Daniel emerges from the submarine named Galaga. Moments later, Pierre Chang is speaking to the group of scientists who came on the sub. He says, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you know why you're here. I wish you could all get a good night's sleep, but the shuttle will pick you up at the motor pool.
What do you mean good night's sleep? Haven't they been unconscious the entire time they were in the submarine? Yeah, I slept.
Yeah, seriously.
The focus changes to Miles and Daniel, and Miles whispers, what the hell are you doing back here, Dan? Once you left for Ann Arbor, I figured you gotten rich, invented the DVD or something.
So at the end of last week, Derek, I think one of your questions was like, how was Dan even in 1977? Because we haven't seen him. So I think what they didn't show us is like he was flipping through time like the rest of them. They did not show us when Daniel must have also joined the Dharma Initiative and been shipped off to be a scientist in Ann Arbor.
And they kind of left that out, yeah.
Yeah, they left that part out, so you would have to wonder where he was. But it looks like, when they became security or the motor pool or whatever, he was like, oh, hey, I'm a physicist. Or workman, yeah. Daniel Workman. That would be a waste.
Did you say that the sub's name was Galaga?
Galaga.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
like the
okay.
video
That's
game.
Like the video
That's a
game.
bit of an anachronism then, because Galaga didn't come out until 1981.
Well, I'm going to let you just walk all over the fun facts today.
Oh, shit. I had no idea. Sorry. Okay.
Of course.
Probably why she put that in the script.
It could be, Derek.
It's funny. I had actually looked that up.
Okay. Well, yeah. So we will talk about that in the fun facts. And yeah, I slipped it into the script here because I wanted to talk about this, and you'll see why, because it does pertain to the show in a different way. But even though the submarine and the name of the submarine comes up in the later episodes of this season, I had other fun facts that had to go with those episodes. So I just like snuck the name into this one, even though you don't see it on the screen, so we could do those fun facts. So put a pin in it and we'll get there.
I will put a pin in it.
Faraday has a copy of the Dharma new recruits photo and whispers back, "This is what I'm doing back here. When did they get here?" Miles tells him they arrived a few days ago. He says weird and tells him that LaFleur managed to get them into Dharma when Daniel interrupts, stating, "We don't have time. I need you to get me to Jack's right now, okay?" So there's a knock on the door, and Jack puts on a shirt to answer it. Faraday is standing there, and he says, "Jack, how did you get back here?" Jack replies, "Faraday? What the?" But Daniel interrupts to press him. "How did you do it?" Jack says, "Whoa," and asks where Daniel has been. Daniel replies, "I was just at Dharma headquarters in Ann Arbor. I was doing some research. What's more important right now, how did you get back here to 1977? Jack sighs and asks Miles what's going on, and Miles says, "Don't look at me. I just carried the luggage." Again, Faraday asks Jack, "How?"
He is
When
like
Jack
really, really frantic in this scene.
How? Jack, how?
How?
When Jack mentions the plane, Daniel wants to know who told him to take the plane. Jack replies, "As a matter of fact, Dan, it was your mother."
Whoop.
Faraday wonders how she convinced him and inquires if she mentioned his destiny. Jack says, "Yeah, that's exactly what she said." A frantic-faced Faraday replies, "Well, I got some bad news for you, Jack. You don't belong here at all. She was wrong."
What? There's also an epic Daniel side eye at the end of this scene.
Yeah. And we have the lost title screen and go to flashback number 1. A young Daniel is playing classical music on the piano, and a metronome is clicking loudly. His mother watches him momentarily and then enters the room, visibly upset. He notices her as he finishes the song, and Daniel asks, "What's wrong, Mom? Didn't you like it?"
This scene,
Eloise says,
by the way, is fucking nuts knowing what's coming at the end. Because in like right here, when he's asking her, you know, "What's wrong, Mom?" And she looks like she's tearing up almost. And watching it with the foresight of what's happening in this episode, it's like I think she's mourning the fact that she knows what has already happened in her life, and she's watching him play the piano, and he's so great at the piano, and she's thinking, "Wow, now I have to encourage you in another direction so that I can gun you down."
Yeah.
And like, because I have already gunned you down. And like, so this just makes this scene like really fucking heartbreaking to watch.
It also brings up a lot of the questions about like you can't change things in the past. Like,
Right.
because like if it's your present, but in her present, it was the future. Like, so there's several things
Right.
going on here. Like it was actually her present when this happened, and he happened to show up in her present when she was younger. So
Right.
like,
And so
she doesn't
we're
actually have to do this. I feel like.
Oh, well, now that is the question, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I have some words about that at the end of this episode, but it will be
Okay.
next week that our fun facts, which I have already mentioned, will be on temporal paradox. And so we will talk more about that and whether or not she has a choice and that kind of thing. That conversation will continue next week. Much like how I had to stick the submarine in this fun facts, I had to wait to talk about the temporal paradox next week because of a couple things that happen in that episode.
Got it.
So we will get more into that, Ben, like whether or not she really had a choice in what she was doing. Because to her, like you said, it's already happened. How
I'm going
can
to see
I change?
if I can hint at every fun facts for the next season by the end of this episode.
Yep, just stick another pin in it.
All right. Pin number 2.
All right. Yeah, okay. Keep going, Derek.
So Eloise asks Daniel, "Do you know what destiny means?" He says he doesn't. So his mother explains, destiny means that if one has a special gift, it must be nurtured. She stops the metronome and asks Daniel how many beats it has counted since he started playing. Daniel immediately says 864.
Oh, my.
His mother replies, "Your gift, Daniel, is your mind that is meant for science and mathematics."
Or at
And
least
it's
counting.
Yeah.
At the
But
very
how does
least.
she know he was right, though? Does she count it too?
I guess she just, my son's a genius and he's a good counter, I guess. So, I don't know.
and it's my job to keep you on your path. So, unfortunately, there's no more time for distractions. Young Daniel protests, saying he can find the time to do both. His mother closes the cover on the keyboard and says, "If only you could."
Actually, what he said was, I can make time.
He did. You're right. I can make time. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Right.
And stressed, I can make time.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he
that was
did.
kinda
Make.
cool.
Yep.
And the way that she says, if only you could, that is hinting at this idea of like, is this inevitable? I mean, she clearly seems to believe that she has no choice because she has actually lived through what has happened, even though Daniel has not. But it feels like, to me, why wouldn't you try? Why wouldn't you try to change it? I don't know. I guess
exactly.
Yep.
But again, has she lived through it yet? Because
it's her past. She was in her 20s when she shot him.
But it doesn't happen until it's his future.
Exactly.
It doesn't happen to him.
This is why special relativity is a bitch. Frame of reference is everything, and that's really what that creates all of the.
To her, she
issues.
met her. Yes, exactly. To her, she met her son at 17, and he told her to bury a bomb. And then later, somewhere in, I guess, her 20s, maybe early 30s, it's hard to know exactly. Well, no, it's not, because it would have been, 1954 to 77, right? So how many years is that?
23.
17. 23. Yeah, so she's in her 30s. And that is, and then she shoots him. So like, it's already happened to her. So from her point of view, there's nothing I can do to stop this. When he goes back in time, this is what's going to happen because it's already happened for me.
Don't encourage him to go back in time.
All of this is why time travel breaks my brain.
Well, we will talk some more in depth about it next week. But yeah, to me, like, my gut instinct is just try to do something different. I mean, you've got this magic island. You seem to know all of these things and all of these equations. Like, why not spend the time trying to figure out how to change this instead of spending the time grooming your son to do exactly what already happened? Yeah, you're right. I mean, it can be brain breaking, Christy. I think that's, that's valid.
They use the same thing in the new Time Machine movie. You know, the first time she was killed by a robber, so he goes back in time and they do something different, but then she's killed by a runaway horse and buggy.
Right,
or and no, actually, it was a car.
So in that time machine, they are using the similar ideas to what Lost is using by saying it's going to course correct
itself. Yeah.
Right. No matter what you do, she'll die.
Right. And remember, that's when we first met. Eloise Hawking was in The Constant, and she was telling Desmond how it's going to course correct. There's nothing you can do about this. And so clearly she already thinks, it doesn't matter how I raise my son, the universe is going to course correct it. So I might as well just comply, I guess. I don't know.
It's a very self-involved view of time too, because, okay, let's say a robber killed you. Well, isn't that going to impact the robber and the way that they conduct their lives for the rest of their lives? The memory of that happening is going to change what they do. Okay, a horse and buggy kills you. Won't the carriage driver at that point feel some remorse? That's going to change what he does. So like, it's always like, oh yeah, it'll course correct, but then it doesn't take into account all of the other things, all of the other actions that happened there.
Well, maybe it does. I mean,
and
maybe
then that's the whole butterfly effect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah. At that point, what we're talking about is a multiverse. Is we're talking about multiple realities branching off due to human choice.
Exactly. And more on that next week. But damn it, Christy, I already wrote up the Mandela effect for our bonus episode. Now you're going to make me fucking write up some shit on the butterfly effect too? God damn it.
Just tell people to watch that bad Ashton Kutcher movie.
Is that bad? I thought I remembered enjoying that movie.
I thought it was decent.
I thought it was good.
I didn't actually see it. So.
You just thought Ashton Kutcher, it's probably shitty.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
He's a very good man, but he's not the best actor.
I'm not sure he is a good man. I think he's one of those Scientologist freaks. He wrote a letter in support of Danny Masterson after he was convicted of rape.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. That's kind of fucked up. But he also saves women from sex slave trade. Basically.
Okay, that I did not know. All right.
Yeah. He has spent a lot of time and money saving women from sexual slavery.
Wow. Okay. So that is such a weird thing to write a letter in support of a rapist and then also, that doesn't make any
slap in the face.
Yeah, that's really fucking weird. But I thought the movie Butterfly Effect was good. They made a bunch of them.
There was more. I never saw the sequels.
I've seen that. It's kind of like any other,
sequel.
Well, like there's a million of the Saw movies, right? And they're okay. They're, it's fine. But the first one is the one that really, was really good. I would say that about the Butterfly Effect too. I liked it. But, okay. So I don't know, guys. Maybe I'll shove in a few things about the Butterfly Effect after the Mandela Effect.
Shove it on in there.
All right, Derek, keep us going.
So
we're not even
there's an episode of Lost here, I think, somewhere. we lost it.
Uh-huh.
So now we're still we're on the island in 1977, and Faraday rushes out of Jack's house with Miles following him. He tells Miles he needs to get to the orchid immediately and asks him to drive him there. They get into a Jeep just as Jack runs out of the house, asking him to wait up. Faraday says he and Miles will be right back, and Jack says, "Hey, what did you mean your mother was wrong?" Faraday isn't forthcoming, so Jack says, "Daniel." Miles starts to drive away, and Faraday says, "I just have an errand to run. Be right back." Jack is left with a concerned look on his face.
Yeah, I bet he is. I mean, what do you mean she was wrong? What am I fucking doing back here?
Yeah,
then?
why do we go through all this shit and we're here now?
That term, wait up, kind of, where does that come from? Wait up.
Wait up.
This isn't a fun facts, is it?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I said that a lot in the 90s. Hey, wait up.
Wait up. Yeah, I've always said that, but I've never thought about it. Wait up. Okay.
So like,
it's just one of those things that I
wait.
think
Yeah.
I've always read it, and just for some reason this morning it occurred that it was a bit odd to me.
It means to go more slowly or stop until someone else catches up.
Thank you, Google.
Doesn't that just mean wait? Okay. Cool.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah, wait.
Why do we say wait up? Yeah.
Interesting.
You're right. That's just in the Oxford Dictionary. It just describes it as wait up. I don't know. I just feel like I always said that in my teen years.
Yeah, I know I said it too.
Yeah.
All right.
Wait up. So there's a knock at the door, and Sawyer picks up a gun and cocks it, so we know he's serious.
Yep.
He opens the door to find Jack standing there. He says, Faraday is back. Sawyer replies, "What do you mean Faraday's back? Why?" Jack has no idea. All he knows is that he came on a sub, woke him up sprouting nonsense, and then took off for the orchid.
Sprouting nonsense?
Sprouting nonsense. I imagine his hair just like, no.
Sprouting, yeah.
Sprouting that nonsense wig.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. That is going to happen.
Oh, yes. That hair.
That's in Jack's future. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
I was talking about Faraday's wig.
Yeah, and the graduation
Jack's wig
scene.
and Jack's beard were way worse.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll talk more about his hair when we get to that scene. I have some notes about that.
Fun facts as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Sawyer would love the trade theories and all this, but he's busy and tries to close the door. Jack says what he could possibly be busy with at 6 a.m. There's some things I could think
Plowing.
of.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Allowing Juliet.
Juliet says, "James, tell him." Sawyer sighs and tells Jack to come inside. Jack steps in and Sawyer says, "Phil, one of my security guys, got himself a videotape of me and Kate taking the kid out to the hostels." Jack asks where the tape is, and Sawyer tells him it's with Phil. And Jack asks where Phil is. And Sawyer opens the door to a closet. And inside on the floor is a tied-up, gagged Phil. Sawyer introduces Jack and Phil to each other and then says, "This is Phil's punishment for using the word hootenanny."
Get a rope.
Get a rope.
Hootenanny.
Hootenanny.
Miles and Daniel sit outside the orchid in the Jeep while Daniel flips through his journal. Miles wonders if they're waiting for something just as his father pulls up in a Dharma van. Faraday says, "Right on time." The van stops and Daniel says, "I'll be back in 10 minutes. And Miles says, "Wait up."
No.
Nope. Faraday flips through the journal as he descends into the station using the elevator. He reaches the bottom and walks into the opening scene of season 5. Dr. Chang is saying, you're going to do nothing. If you even drill even 1 centimeter further, you risk releasing that energy. If that were to happen, then God help us all.
Who is the project planner here?
I know.
Yeah.
1 centimeter?
1 centimeter.
Why were you drilling in the
centimeter?
first place?
Yeah, none of it makes sense.
Yeah. Faraday puts a hard hat on, picks up a tank, and throws it over his shoulder. As he passes in the hallway, he bumps into Chang, who says, watch yourself. Faraday apologizes, and then we watch the construction worker tell him how silly the idea of time travel is. Everyone leaves the dig, and Faraday catches up with Chang and asks him if he has a second. Chang says, I suppose. Faraday tells him he just came in on the sub and they met 3 years ago. They did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, we just don't see him joining the Dharma Initiative and then going off to Ann Arbor to be a scientist.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and in the storyline, he just was gone. They were like, well, he left. He was here.
Disappears.
And he left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chang says he remembers Daniel arriving with LaFleur and asks what he could do for him. Daniel says, I need you to order the evacuation of every man, woman, and child on this island. Chang wants to know why he would do that, and Daniel points out that a man is already on a stretcher due to the electromagnetic activity unleashed by the drilling. Chang points out it's now contained because 1 centimeter of rock is contained.
Yeah.
That's true.
I feel so much safer now.
Yeah. The men enter the elevator, and Faraday says, it's contained down here, but in 6 hours, the same thing is going to happen at the site for the Swan Station. Only the energy there is about 30,000 times more powerful, sir. And the accident, it's going to be catastrophic. Chang thinks this is absurd and demands to know what makes Daniel qualified to make such a claim. And Faraday says, I'm from the future.
I'm from the future.
So here's one thing. Here, give me your jacket.
Come with me if you want to live.
I'll be back.
Give me your boots and your motorcycle.
Get out.
Here's the thing that I don't understand is like Faraday knows that this was going to happen in 6 hours, but he wasn't going to come back to the island until he saw them in the Dharma photograph. So, like, he was just going to let everybody else blow up, I guess, or die.
That's why
or
he was
something.
in Ann Arbor. He's like, peace out, y'all.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get residency at University of Michigan. I'm good. I'm going to grow my hair long. Now that I got my marbles back, I'm going to plow some undergrads.
My marbles back. Doesn't it seem that way? It's like, wait a second. Why were you not back there warning everybody anyway? I don't know. Whatever.
Ben, they are his research assistants. Thank you very
That's
much.
right. That's right. His research assistants. Exactly.
Right.
So we're outside the Orchid now, and Chang is walking back to the van, and Daniel pleads with him to listen. Chang blows him off, saying he knows Daniel heard him talk about time travel, and he's just having some fun. Faraday says, No, please, Dr. Chang, just look at my journal. Please, look at these equations. Some of them won't be discovered for another 20 years. Dr. Chang. But he's interrupted by Miles, who's noticed Daniel is talking too much. Miles tells Dan to leave the man alone, and he tells his father that Faraday had too many drugs on the sub. Faraday says, Dr. Chang, Miles is your son.
Ooh!
What?
What?
So Chang replies, excuse me? Faraday points out that a Chinese man named Miles traveled here from the future and asks if Chang thinks that could be a coincidence. Chang asks Miles if this is true, and Miles denies it. Dr. Chang tells Faraday to stay away from him, gets in the van, and drives away. Miles turns to Daniel and asks if he's out of his mind, and Daniel says he was just trying to ensure his father does what he's supposed to do. Miles asks, and what is that? Faraday replies, you'll see.
Well, what is that? What does he want him to do?
We'll see.
We'll see. So flashback number 2, and we're outside Oxford University. Daniel is wearing a graduation gown and standing with a woman. His mother's there, and Daniel says, hi, Mom, I want you to meet Teresa.
Okay, this is
Teresa-
the hair scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
He looks like a late 80s, like, hair band.
Who just graduated.
It just needs a perm and a little more teasing.
Okay, yeah, but, like, otherwise, he could be, like, in Poison. No, wait.
Yeah. He needs makeup for Poison.
Okay.
Maybe Motley Crue.
Oh, okay,
He need makeup for them, too.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
He didn't make up for any of
makeup.
those bands.
Yeah,
they all wore
Yeah.
makeup.
A lot of men in the
Winger?
late 80s
They wore
wearing...
makeup.
What did you say,
I
winger?
mean, they praised
Winger.
Jesus, but they also wore makeup.
Oh, is that what
No,
happened?
never mind. That was Striper, but they wore makeup too. They were the Jesus freaks.
Teresa is earnestly trying to connect with Mrs. Hawking, but Eloise is having none of it and nearly ignores the woman. She tells Daniel that she wants to celebrate his graduation with lunch, and Daniel says, "We would love to." His mother sighs and replies, "Actually, I was hoping it'd just be the two of us."
Good Lord.
I know. She looks at Teresa and says, "You do understand, don't you? It's just I don't get to see my son very often." Daniel tries to object, but Teresa says, "I understand. It's okay, Dan. Really."
Ouch.
She's awful.
Yes. Mother and son are now sitting at a table in an Indian restaurant. A sitar is playing, and Eloise wonders if there's something wrong with Daniel. He says she was rude to Teresa, and she is his girlfriend.
Also, my
Eloise
hair is terrible.
Yeah. She's
Eloise
also my
plays-
hairstylist. Okay, now we see why Eloise is all pissed
Yeah.
off about it.
Yeah. Eloise plays dumb about her rudeness and says, "She's your research assistant. You should be focusing your energies on your work." Daniel seems annoyed with his work, but his mother tells him that's what's important. Daniel says, "Yes, you've made it abundantly clear. Why would I waste my gift on a woman?" His mother says, "I'm sorry to tell you, Daniel, but you're not going to have time for relationships. The women in your life will only be terribly hurt." A disturbed Daniel wants to know what that means, and his mother tells him that his work will always come first. And Daniel says, "Only because that's what you always push me to do. You've pushed and you pushed and you pushed. And when will be enough, mother?"
Mother.
When, mother?
I'm an
When?
army mother.
I'm an army mother.
When I am the youngest doctor to ever graduate from Oxford, I just got a new £1.5 million research grant. What else do I have to do? And all of a sudden, yes, his mother is impressed and asks who the person funding it is. And Daniel says, "I don't know, some industrialist. Widmore, I think. Charles Widmore.
Whoop.
Wonder why he funded him."
Oh, geez. Maybe we'll find out at the end of this episode.
Eloise chuckles a bit and says she isn't there to fight with him, and Daniel wonders why she is there. Eloise pulls out a small, flat gift box and presents it to Daniel. She says, "To congratulate you. Good luck, Daniel, and I do hope you know I mean that." Faraday opens the box to find the journal we've seen him with since we met him. The handwritten inscription reads, "Daniel, no matter what, remember, I'll always love you. Mother."
No matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You think he was thinking about that in the moment he was dying? Probably not, but.
Reading through this outline on the sentence, it says, I just got a £1.5 million research grant. Where it says grant, the R is a little like the printer didn't quite get it, and it looks like giant. So it says, I got a £1.5 million research giant.
That's pretty heavy.
He's like, are you saying that my girlfriend's fat? What the fuck?
Back on the island in 1977, Jen, Hurley, Kate, Jack, Sawyer, and Juliet are all gathered at the latter two's home. Sawyer sighs and says, "All right, people, party's over. I know y'all just showed up. The rest of us been here for the past 3 years. This is our home. The last thing I want to do is leave, but we ain't got no choice." Hurley says the dude in the closet works for Sawyer and should just convince him that it's a misunderstanding. Sawyer says, "I punched the man in the damn face, Hugo. What am I supposed to say? My fist slipped?"
Well, you also tied him up and threw him in the closet.
Yeah.
I don't know how that could be a misunderstanding.
Kate wants to know how much time until someone notices Phil missing. Sawyer tells her not enough. Juliet wants to know where they should go. Sawyer figures there are only two options. They either commandeer the sub and get off the island or return to the jungle and start from square one.
He could have passed it off with Phil. They're like, hey, where's Phil? I don't know. He's out having a hootenanny.
He's in Sector 334 having a hootenanny, obviously.
Jen says there's no way he's getting on that sub if there's a chance that Sun is on the island. Hurley chimes in, "Yeah, me neither. After all we did to get back here, and we're just going to run off again, it'd be kind of wishy-washy."
I mean, okay.
Okay, yeah, if that's your reason to stay, Hurley.
Oh, yeah. I think he just likes being a cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Hurley likes being on the island. He's thriving in the Dharma Initiative, clearly. Secret mayo and everything.
Yeah, right.
Sawyer counts that as 2 votes for square one and is about to ask for other votes when there's a knock on the door. Sawyer picks up his gun and answers the door. On the other side is Faraday, who says, "Hey, James." Sawyer says, "Welcome to the meeting, Twitchy. Good to see you again. Pound cakes in the kitchen. Help yourself to the punch."
Like Phil?
Faraday walks in, opens up the closet, and just gives him a few.
Exactly. And here's for saying hootenanny, pow.
He turns to Miles and asks in a low voice, "Is he still crazy?" Miles replies, "In a whole new level, man." Faraday looks at Jack and says, "I'm sorry I was rude before, but what I came to do is of critical importance to everyone in this room, because even though I've known about it for years, I decided to show up 6 hours before it happened."
Exactly.
Oh my god!
Does anyone know where I can find the hostiles? Julie wants to know why he's asking, and Faraday says, "Because one of them is my mother, and she's the only person on this island who get us back to where we belong."
And then we get the intense Daniel stare.
So flashback number 3. We're back to a scene we've watched before in season 4, episode 2. Daniel is watching the news, and the fake wreckage of Oceanic 815 has been discovered, and he's crying while watching it. His caretaker asks him what's wrong, and Daniel says, "I don't know." The last time we saw this, the scene ended here, but this time it continues. There's a knock at the door, and the caretaker answers it and tells Daniel that he has a visitor.
Did we realize when we first watched this scene that this was a caretaker, though?
No, we had no idea who it was.
It was just a woman. That's all we knew.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
It was yeah,
And
mostly
since you don't see her face or anything, you assume it could
It's
be
like his
a
wife
girlfriend.
or girlfriend or something. Yeah.
yeah. Exactly. That's what I was
Research assistant.
Yeah.
WB, yeah.
That's what I was going to mention too, is that we never did see her face.
Could be a 1.5 million pound research giant.
So none other than Charles Widmore steps into the room and says hello. Daniel calls the caretaker, Caroline, and asks Widmore if she explained that he has memory problems. Widmore says, "Don't be embarrassed. We've never met. My name is Charles Widmore." Faraday is surprised that it's the man who funded his research giant and says it's very nice to meet him. Faraday apologizes for not thinking of him before he left Oxford, and Widmore points out that Daniel was dismissed from Oxford, and a crying Daniel says, "I tested it. I tested it on myself first. I would never hurt Teresa." Widmore comforts him and says that he's not here about that.
And then he says, "Faraday, I am your father." Oh, and stay tuned for the bonus episode, because we will talk about Star Wars and that scene when we talk about the Mandela effect.
There we go.
Yeah. Keep going.
Daniel, still crying, says he can't. Widmore wants to know what is bothering Daniel, and Daniel says, "It's this plane crash. I don't know why it's bothering me so much. It's just so sad. They're dead." Widmore tells him that the passengers from Oceanic 815 are not actually dead. The plane is an elaborate and expensive fake. Faraday wonders how Widmore could know that, and Widmore says, "Because I put it there."
What?
Whoa.
Well, I guess that answers that.
Yeah.
Daniel-
I was sitting there going, why the fuck is he telling Daniel all of that? You know?
Well, he does say, because like you won't remember tomorrow
Right.
or whatever. Yeah.
Because Daniel can't understand why Widmore would tell him this, and Widmore says, "Because come tomorrow, you won't remember I did." Daniel, the real Oceanic Flight 815 crashed on an island, a special island with unique scientific properties. I want to send you to the island. It will further your research, show you things you'd never dream of. But more importantly, it will heal you. Daniel, your mind, your memory. Faraday doesn't understand why Widmore would do all this for him, and Widmore tells him that he's a man of tremendous gifts and would be ashamed to waste them. And I am your father. Daniel chuckles a bit and says, "You sound like my mother." Widmore replies, "That's because we're old friends." With
So
benefits.
he's sending Daniel to the island knowing
Yeah.
what's going to fucking happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great parents, man.
I had two things to say. First, that holy shit, both of his parents are guiding him toward his death. And then also when he says, did anybody else like have flashes to Hellraiser when Widmore says it'll show you things you've never dreamed of?
Yeah.
I was like waiting for him to hand him the little box.
You opened it. We came.
I have not seen that movie.
Oh my God, it's an amazing movie.
Oh man, the Hellraiser movie scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. I had a friend in middle school. Her name was Tabitha, and her family lived like way out in the woods and no other houses around them, just huge trees. And they had this enormous, almost half moon like window, rounded window in their living room, floor to ceiling windows, and you just saw out into the woods. And they had the couch was in front of the window, and the couch, you know, like every couch did in the 90s, pulled out into a bed. And we used to have sleepovers in there. And one night we stayed up, we must have been 12, I think, or something. And we stayed up watching like the Hellraiser series, and and then I could not sleep because all I could think, like when I would turn around, I'd look out into the woods and I'd see the one that scared me the most is the one that has the teeth, the
Chatter, Cenobites,
the Cenobites, and I was absolutely terrified by those fucking films as a child.
It's just a puzzle box. Oh no, it is a means to summon us. I've seen it a few times.
I've watched them in adulthood, and they're actually kind of funny to me now. But.
Yeah.
And being out in the woods, we all know trees have been terrifying ever since the first Poltergeist movie.
Indeed, yes.
True.
That tree was scared the shit out of me back then.
All right.
(1977) on the island. Back at Sawyer and Juliet's house, Sawyer is shocked that Daniel's mother is another.
Wait, Daniel's mother is another mother?
Faraday says, you met her actually when the island was skipping back in 1954. They were calling her Ellie. Hurley chimes in and asks, you guys were in 1954? Like Fonzie times? Hey! Daniel says he must find his mother, but won't tell them why. Sawyer says, I thought you said you were supposed to lay low. Whatever happened, happened. Faraday wants them to tell him where his mother is, but Sawyer refuses unless Daniel comes clean about what he's up to. Jack chimes in to say, Sawyer, he said he can get us back to where we belonged. Whether we go on the sub or we head back into the jungle, we don't belong here. Sawyer snaps back, well, I belonged here just fine till you came back, Doc.
Ow.
Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. I can totally see Sawyer's point. He's built a really good life there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we know that the Dharma Initiative is going to be murdered by Ben and the hostiles.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, they never would have had that life there had Jack not made everyone come back to stop the time skipping. That's the thing. Like, they are connected. Had Jack not come back, you all just would have died skipping through time. Yet that only happened because he came back. So I get it. I understand why Sawyer's upset. But also, none of it would have happened had they not got on Ajira Flight 316.
Mm.
Yep.
So Jack turns to Kate and asks if she knows how to find the hostiles. And Sawyer tells Kate not to say a word. Jack says she can say what she wants to say. Kate, you made me promise to never ask what happened to Aaron or why you came back here. But I know the reason isn't here. Sawyer claims that taking H.G. Wells to his mommy isn't the reason either. Juliet says the code for the fence is 141717. You should take Daniel. It's over here for us anyway. Daniel thanks her and Miles tosses Daniel's keys to a Dharma van.
Juliet just does not want Kate around.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
You know, she's like, look, I've got it good here. Sawyer is mine. Get the fuck out of here. Go have fun.
Yeah, but I think
Jolene. She's basically just Jolene, or singing Jolene every episode.
I saw a really funny meme the other day that said these cannot be the men that Jolene was, or that
Jolene.
Dolly doesn't want Jolene to steal or something like that. Just talking about men in general. But anyways, yeah, but I think the thing with Juliet here is, she just knows. Sawyer is, I think, acting like maybe he can still salvage life on the island. He's trying to do a plan or whatever. And Juliet's like, no, this is over. Yeah, she knows it. She knew it last episode. And she's just like, fuck, it was a nice 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Sawyer says, when you realize you made a huge mistake, we'll be back at the beach right where we started.
Wow.
Jack, Kate, and Faraday leave. Sawyer tells everyone else to pack what they can carry and meet back here in 20 minutes. Then he reaches out to Juliet, who takes Sawyer's hand. He whispers to her, time to go.
This is a heartbreaking moment. You can see it on their faces.
Yep, it's all over.
They're so sad. And yeah, I think I see a little bit of hope left in Sawyer's face there, but Juliet knows, this is over.
Hey, you got someone tied up in your closet.
Well, yeah.
And you can also see how much they really, really love each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So Kate, Jack, and Daniel are walking through the barracks. Kate says, these people are not going to be happy to see us. It might be a good idea to bring some guns. There's a gun safe in the motor pool, but it's locked. Jack replies, good thing I'm a janitor then.
Why? So you can open up the gun case and clean it?
Yeah.
Like, what the
He's got
fuck?
keys.
I get that.
I know
but
he's
why?
got-
Yeah.
Why would you have to open up the gun? Do you have to clean the gun case? You have to open up to do that? How does
Why
dust
would he
get
have
into a
keys to
gun
the gun
case?
case? Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
that's
Why would the
kinda- yeah.
janitor have that? That would
Yeah.
should be Sawyer would have that.
I can
Right.
imagine a
He's the security
janitor
guy.
having the key to the armory, but not the key to the lockers in which the actual guns are stored. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Right.
So Daniel stares into the distance and says, I'll meet you at the motor pool. I need just a minute, okay? Daniel leaves them and makes his way to a red-haired girl playing on a swing set.
Oh
He
no.
approaches her and notices the candy bar in her hand. In a British accent, she says, I'm not allowed to have chocolate before dinner.
Do you remember, guys, when she
Yes.
died and she was
Yeah, that's
having
the
all
last
of
thing
those
she said.
flashes?
Yeah.
These were her last words before she
Mhm.
died.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
so
I
she
was crying this entire portion of this scene.
Yeah. So now
it was
we
so
know
sad.
she was flashing back and forth, and her last flash
Yeah.
was as a child with Daniel, and then she died. It's fucking sad.
Daniel says he won't tell, and the girl introduces herself as Charlotte. He tells
Duh.
her his name is, He tells her his name is Daniel and asks if she knows Dr. Chang. When she confirms she does, Daniel says, yeah, hopefully really soon Dr. Chang is going to ask a bunch of people to get in the submarine and leave the island. When he does, you and your mommy, you're going to have to leave. In case what I do doesn't work, you cannot be here. You have to leave. Charlotte begins to cry, and Daniel continues, I tried to avoid telling you this. I didn't think I could change things, but maybe I can.
Yeah, sure. You could have changed things by not doing exactly what you're doing right now.
So when she said that I'm not allowed to have chocolate before dinner, obviously that was the last thing she said when she died. But I always took it as not so much as being a flashback as much as it created a loop for her. At that moment, that was when she died, and then when she died, she came exactly back to this moment, and that was her loop.
That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I didn't mean flashback as in like the way the show's flashback. I meant she was still flashing through time like Minkowski was, you
Yeah.
know, or
Yeah.
yeah. And so her last moments, she flashed to Daniel and then back to Daniel, who was there, you know, with her actual dying body. Yeah. Sorry. That wasn't clear.
Which is basically like he introduced by coming up to her, he introduced the time loop, and that's that her having that phrase was her saying that in two bodies at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
It's
that's
kind of
why
messed up.
It's very messed up. And that's why I'm saying, like if you wanted to change things, then you shouldn't have walked up and said that to her.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah.
all know that's what's already happened. Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yep.
Over at the motor pool, Jack is packing up medical supplies and guns. Daniel arrives and wants to know how long it'll take to get to his mother. Kate hands him a rifle and says it depends because they'll have to be on foot after they pass the pylons. Daniel asks for a beginner gun because they have those. And and Kate hands him a different one. Just then, a Dharma van arrives and Radzinski gets out, our favorite.
Uh-huh.
He sees Daniel and says, "What's going on here? Aren't you one of the physicists off the sub? You're supposed to be out at the Swan site." Faraday replies, "Right, there was an accident at the Orchid Station, exposing his hidden gun."
Oops.
Dr. Chang asks us to help. Radzinski spots Daniel's beginner gun and says, "He's got a gun." Everyone except Daniel cocks their guns, so we know they're serious. Radzinski says, "I just left Dr. Chang. He's at home with his wife and baby. You're lying. Now drop the guns and get down on the ground." Daniel slowly moves backward and tells Radzinski he has no idea what's really happening. Radzinski fires a shot, and Daniel returns one, which hits Radzinski in the hand. Jack begins to fire at the other two guards while they fire back. Kate and Daniel take cover, and Jack joins them. Guns are firing back and forth, but Kate thinks they can make it to the Jeep. Jack says he'll provide cover and tells Kate and Daniel to run for it. Jack fires back as Kate and Daniel make their way to the Jeep. Dozens more shots are exchanged without reloading. Jack spots some fuel tanks and, of course, near Radzinski and shoots them. A fireball erupts because that's exactly what would happen, and Jack gives time to make it to the Jeep. The three of them take off, and Radzinski shouts, "Sound the alarm."
Uh-oh.
I guess nobody could hear the gunshots.
Right. Or the explosion.
Or the
But,
explosion.
okay.
Yeah. Flashback number 4. Daniel is sitting at the piano playing the same piece we heard him play as a child. His mother arrives to say, "I hear you've been offered a job." Faraday is curious how she knows this, and Eloise says, "Well, it's my business to know. I came here, Daniel, to tell you that it's very important that you say yes to Mr. Widmore, that you accept this opportunity." Daniel says he can't do complex space-time calibrations and bearing calculations anymore. His mother says, "This place he mentioned to you, this island, did he tell you that it could make you better? What if it's true? Why, then you could go on with your work. Just think of all you could accomplish before I shoot you in the back."
How would he know? How would he know what whatever his name, Jesus. How would he know what Charles Widmore told him? I thought he forgot everything.
Right, yeah, he's supposed to.
Well, maybe that's why he's writing all this stuff down in his journal, so he can flip through like the guy in Memento. He's just not tattooing it on his body.
Yeah, I guess. It's kind of a plot hole here because they don't say anything about him writing this stuff down. He says, "You're not going to remember me telling you about
they didn't say anything about him being in Ann Arbor." There's not going to be every little thing in. There's going to be some stuff that you just sort of have to assume, I guess.
Well, Ann Arbor was a big plot hole, but I don't know if it was on purpose or not.
How is that a plot hole?
Because just Faraday just disappears, and all of a sudden he's back on the sub.
Right, but I mean, it's not a plot hole. You just don't see it. You don't see him join the Dharma Initiative.
I don't see that as a plot hole.
Yeah,
I do see this as a plot hole though, because they've specifically said, "I'm not going to remember. I'm telling you about the crashing this airplane or putting this airplane on the bottom of the ocean because you're not going to remember it." Then a few scenes later, he says, "You got to take this job," and he's like, "Oh, but I can't do these calculations anymore." So how does he remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. That was my explanation, is that he was writing it down in his journal like the guy from Memento.
Yeah.
Daniel senses that his mother really wants him to go. He asks, "Will it make you proud of me?"
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, God.
Yeah. Fighting back tears, Eloise says, "Yes, Daniel, it will." Faraday sighs deeply and says, "Then I'll do it."
This pissed me off so fucking much.
Yeah.
The correct answer is, "I've always been proud of you."
Yes, that's true. I thought you meant pissed you off like more that she's sending him to his death, but that too.
But
yeah.
Even her saying, I'm never going to be proud of you. I've never been proud of you would be more fair than manipulating him by saying yes. Like, that's fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so 1977, back on the island, the Jeep arrives at the pylons. Kate gets out to put in the code, and Jack takes a look at Daniel's neck. A bullet grazed him, but he'll be fine. Faraday thinks he's lucky, and Jack says, "What's luck have to do with it? I thought you said whatever happened, happened." Faraday explains, "You got to understand, Jack, this is our present. When we met, did I have a scar on my neck? No, because I hadn't been shot yet. We can't be so naive as to think that nothing can happen to us. Any one of us can die, Jack."
Oh.
Kate returns to say that the solar fence is off, because that's what was in the script.
Yes, I decided that I was as I was going to write them from now on, if they ever came up again, I was just going to put in any 5-letter S word.
Okay. Daniel walks on ahead, checking his watch. Kate looks at Jack and says, "Do you think he knows what he's doing?" Jack replies, "I sure hope so. There's no turning back now."
Welp.
Yep.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned Idiocracy, and it went through my head. You know, they have that scene where they're talking about, like, here's how it happens. They show the educated couple or whatever talking about having kids or whatever, and they decide not to, or they have trouble with it or whatever. And then they show the idiots procreating. The guy who plays the educated couple, whatever, is Phil.
Really?
Oh my God,
It's the same
really?
actor. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I just had it flash in
Also-
my head. I was like, I need to confirm this. I just went online and yeah, it's totally him.
Okay, also FYI, we didn't really mention Idiocracy during the podcast. That you guys were talking about it when I went to go pee. So FYI, listeners, that's why Ben just brought that up, because I was peeing and they were talking about Idiocracy. Alrighty then.
Baiting.
I was baiting, and
I was baiting.
they were talking about Idiocracy.
Ow, my balls. Back at the barracks, Sawyer and Juliet pack clothes and food. Phil's muffled shouts can be heard in the background, and Sawyer says, "You called at the minute those yahoos got here. I should have listened to you. You can say I told you so." Juliet replies, "Maybe after we get to the beach." Sawyer wants to know if Juliet still has his back. She says, "You still got mine?"
Okay, is she talking about Kate here? Right? Is
What?
that what you were picking up on earlier, Christy? Like when she's like, "You still got mine," that she's thinking, you know, are we still solid? Because Kate is here.
This was very, very sad to me.
Yeah.
Because now both of them are like, well, you know, are we still us?
Yeah. Yeah, that's tough.
Outside, the barracks alarm is blaring, and Hurley and Jim notice Radzinski and the other armed men marching towards Sawyer and Juliet's house. Hurley says, "That's not good, right?" Jin says what might have been a curse word in Korean. Radzinski bursts into the home and says, "LaFleur, where have you been? I just got shot by a physicist."
I'm pretty sure what Jin said was, "Son of a bitch."
Son of a bitch. I think what he said was, "Ew, neck beard."
And the new recruits are helping him. "We've been infiltrated." Sawyer tells him that's ridiculous and tries to calm Radzinski. When a thud comes from the closet, Sawyer does his best to pretend it came from outside, but the thuds continue and turn into a pounding on the door. The men with Radzinski cock their guns so LaFleur knows they're serious. Radzinski opens the closet door to find the prisoner, Phil. He immediately turns his weapon towards Sawyer and says, "Get down on the ground now," and both Sawyer and Juliet comply.
Yikes.
Yep. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, Kate, Jack, and Faraday arrive at a stream. Jack wonders why Faraday needs a gun to talk to his mother, and Daniel says, "You don't know my mother, Jack." Jack asks, you ready to tell me why she was wrong? Why we don't belong here?" And Daniel says, in about 4 hours, the Dharma folks at the Swan worksite, they're going to drill into the ground and accidentally tap into a massive pocket of energy. The result of the release of this energy would be catastrophic. So in order to contain it, they're going to need to cement the entire area like Chernobyl. In this containment, the place they built over it, I believe you call it the hatch, the Swan Hatch. Because of this one accident, these people are going to spend the next 20 years keeping that energy at bay by pressing a button. A button that your friend Desmond will one day fail to push, and that will cause your plane, Oceanic 815, to crash on this island. And because your plane crashed, a freighter will be sent to this island, a freighter I was on, and Charlotte was on, and so forth. The entire chain of events is going to start happening this afternoon. But we can change that. I studied relativistic physics my entire life. One thing emerged over and over. Can't change the past. Can't do it. Whatever happened, happened. All right. But then I finally realized I've been spending too much time focused on the constants, and I forgot the variables. Do you know what the variables in these equations are, Jack? Jack laughs at the question and says, "No." Daniel continues, "Us. We're the variables. People. We think, we reason, we make choices, we have free will, we can change our destiny. I think I can negate that energy under the Swan. I think I can destroy it. If I can, then that hatch will never be built, and your plane will land just like it's supposed to in Los Angeles." Kate asks, "And just exactly how do you plan on destroying this energy?" And Daniel gives a Daniel stare and replies, Then detonate a hydrogen bomb.
Oh.
So casual.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's
This
happening here,
energy,
Derek?
Whatever this energy. What?
Well, so I guess I was going to say what's happening here, Derek, but since none of you remember this, is he changing the future, or is he causing the very incident that we all know led to all of this? What do you think?
What he's doing right now is going to probably cause an incident.
Okay. Well, I mean, we know the finale episodes are called The Incident Part 1 and 2, so we are going to watch that. But I guess I'm wondering, like, do you think it's possible for him to change this? Or do you think he's just leading everyone to the places for it to happen the way we've heard it has already happened? What do you think?
I would think that if he was going to detonate a hydrogen bomb, there'd be little left of that island.
Right.
So, I mean, how that bomb interacts with the, electromagnetic pockets of energy that they're talking about, I have no fucking clue. I'm just looking at it from a purely, from the standpoint of what a hydrogen bomb would do, even buried underground. It would annihilate half that island.
Detonated them on the Bikini Atoll.
Exactly.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, we erased islands off the
megatons
map.
this thing is too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, also remember this is a magical island, so...
That's what I'm saying. So how a fission fusion nuclear device interacts with magic, I don't really fucking know.
All right. Well, none of you answered my question, but that's fine. We'll just keep going.
2007 in the present, off the island. We're back to the last moment of the first scene after Eloise tells Penny she is Faraday's mother. Penny says, "Daniel Faraday? Your son is Daniel Faraday? That's the man who sent Desmond to Los Angeles to find you." Miss Hawking replies, "That's right. I came, Penelope, to apologize. Your husband has become a casualty in a conflict that's bigger than him. That's bigger than any of us." Penny is confused and wants to know if Desmond will be okay. Eloise says, "I don't know. For the first time in a long time, I don't know what's going to happen next."
Whoa.
A nurse interrupts to say that Desmond is in the recovery room and is doing fine. Penny leaves with a nurse, and in the recovery room, she and Desmond say hello to each other. Penny says, "I thought I'd lost you," and Desmond replies, "I promised you, Penny. I promised you. I'd never leave you again." And they kiss.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I really love Penny's face when Eloise is saying, "I don't know what's going to happen next." Like her face there is pretty amazing. She didn't say anything, but it was like, whoa.
Well, this is a fascinating moment too, because up until this moment, the rest of this episode seems to indicate that Eloise doesn't think there's any other option, right? I mean, she's already lived through it. Like, she can't change anything. But now that all the pieces are in place, suddenly she's like, for the first time, I don't know what's going to happen next. So that tells me she does have some hope that maybe it won't go down this way.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So outside the hospital, Eloise is hailing a taxi when Widmore approaches to blow my mind. He asks if Desmond is all right, and Eloise confirms he is. She tells Widmore that Penny is inside and he should go see her. Widmore says that, unfortunately, his relationship with Penelope is one of those things he had to sacrifice. Eloise says, "Sacrifice? Don't you talk to me about sacrifice, Charles. I had to send my son back to the island knowing full well that." But before she can tell us what is about to happen in the next scene, Widmore interrupts to say, "He was my son too, Eloise."
Oh, fuck.
She slaps him across the face and gets into her taxi.
So last week I teased, and this was before you had watched the episode, Derek, or I guess that's all of you now since none of you know what's going on. And I said, I thought this episode had one of the most shocking twists in the series. And watching through the first time, you may have thought I was referring to this, but then...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Well, and it's funny because over the course of this episode, I was thinking, I wonder if Charles and Ellie...
Yeah.
I mean, we knew they were on the island together, so they were, he was good looking, she was good looking, so,
Yeah.
It was a fit.
Yeah.
That's true. So you had forgotten that Widmore was Daniel's father as well, Christy.
Yeah, had no idea.
So I think at the end of, whatever season, we find out that Jack and Claire are half siblings. I I did tease, later on, if you think this is the only half siblings in the show, you're going to be surprised. And now we have another set. And I think it's great. I just love how everything is woven together in this show. Yeah. All right.
So if our minds weren't blown at this scene,
yeah, right.
Now we're back on the island in 1977, and we're back to the Jungle Crew, and they've arrived at the outskirts of the others' camp. Kate says, this is a mistake. He's talking about erasing everything that's ever happened to us, Jack. It's insane. Jack replies, we disappeared off a plane in midair and ended up in 1977. I'm getting kind of used to insane. See, Kate doesn't want this to happen.
No.
Yeah.
Well, they talk about it more in the next episode.
Yes.
But, Jack is just determined to erase everything that happened. And Kate's like, wait a second, what about us? This is the hint that she's feeling that way. And then next week.
Plus, her life kind of sucked before this happened. She was.
Well, right.
Plus, I was a fucking captive.
Yeah, that's true. Right. She'll be back in handcuffs. So, yeah, that's a good point, too. Yeah.
I don't get to lead on my boy toys and I have to go to prison. Oh, I don't want that.
Daniel prepares to enter the camp and says, wish me luck. Faraday leaves them, and as he's walking, a few of the others notice him. He fires 2 bullets into the ground and demands to speak with Eloise. Richard approaches to say she isn't there. Albert tries to calm the situation down, but Faraday says, where's the bomb, Richard? The hydrogen bomb that I told you people to bury. Where is it? Richard is still trying to calm Daniel, but Daniel gives him 3 seconds to answer the question. Just then, a shot rings out, and Daniel looks down to see blood oozing from his abdomen. He slumps forward and falls to the ground. Behind him, his mother stands with a smoking rifle in her hands. Richard says, why did you do that? He wasn't going to shoot me, Eloise. A gasping Faraday says, Eloise, you knew. You always knew. You knew this was going to happen. You sent me here anyway. Ellie asks, who are you? And just before he dies, Daniel says, I'm your son. A shocked Eloise stares at his dead body. Lost title screen. End of episode. Mind blown.
I honestly didn't realize that he was dead until the next episode.
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, because these wounds move around and they can, the island's magical.
Yeah, I mean, so many people have been shot and survived on this magical island that I've
been strangled and brought back to life.
Yeah,
right.
Dead isn't always
two people in coffins have returned. So
yeah, right.
That's true.
But you get hit in the head once, you have a concussion.
That's true.
Yeah. This does kill Daniel. I think for me, it's the most shocking moment since Alex took a bullet from Creamy Kimi, where it's just holy shit, they just did that. She just killed her fucking kid. Oh my God. Was everybody shocked?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and he said to her, you knew that this was going to happen.
Yep.
It's so fucked up.
That's what he realizes. Yeah. In his last moments, he realizes my mother groomed me my entire life for this moment where she kills me. Holy fuck.
And I could have been at home playing piano.
Yeah. or fucking my research assistant, anything.
Yeah.
God damn.
All right, let's do some fun facts on Galaga. It is, of course, the name of the Dharma submarine in Lost. That lock eventually blows up and when it's in the possession of the others. In an episode coming up in 2 weeks, the submarine captain pronounces the name of his vessel as Galaga, but the actual correct pronunciation is Galaga. Galaga is an arcade game that was released by Namco in 1981. It is the sequel to Galaxian, which was made in 1979 and was Namco's first major video game hit in arcades. Galaga received critical acclaim and became one of the most successful arcade games, routinely appearing on Japanese and American arcade charts through 1987. So obviously you are correct, Ben. It was not invented during these scenes in 1977, but I will get to the reason why the submarine was named that. So in Japan, this game was the sixth highest grossing arcade game of 1981, then the third highest grossing in 1982, and it was among the top 10 highest grossing arcade games of 1983 in the United States. It's regarded as a classic of the golden age of arcade video games and one of the greatest ever made. Galaga is a fixed shooter game. The premise is basic. The player mans a lone starfighter at the bottom of the screen, which must prevent the Galaga forces from destroying all mankind. Controlling a starship, the player is tasked with destroying the Galaga forces in each stage while avoiding enemies and projectiles. Some enemies can capture a player's ship via a tractor beam, which can be rescued to transform the player into a dual fighter with additional firepower. The current world record holder is named Armando Gonzalez, whose score is 9,525,700. He is almost 1 million points higher than the second place holder. In 1995, Galaga was used as a loading screen minigame in the PlayStation version of Tekken. In 2015,
that, yeah.
You remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
Used to play Tekken all the time.
Oh, same. Yeah, I love that game. In 2015, the game company launched Galaga Tekken. The game looks like Galaga, but instead of shooting at ships, you are trying to get past characters of the Tekken game franchise. When released, many thought it was an April Fool's prank, because it was kind of dumb. The boss, Galaga, is an item in Super Smash Bros. And Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for Nintendo 3DS and the Wii. The boss can capture an opponent and carry them off of the screen. Galaga has made cameo appearances in films including War Games, 1983, The Karate Kid, in 1984, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in 1987, The Avengers in 2012, and Pixels in 2015. In 2019, researchers at North Carolina State University named an extinct species of shark, Galagadon nordquiste, due to the shark's teeth resembling the Galaga aliens. And finally, the entire point of why I made this fun facts, the arcade game was often played between writing episodes of Lost, and the submarine was named after the game in that honor. And there you go.
I hated that game.
Did you?
I was so bad at it.
It's not easy. You go back and play old arcade games are actually really hard.
I would always end up flying out of orbit or whatever,
Whoops.
Back when they cost a quarter.
Back when they cost, yeah, and you were actually in an arcade, not in your living room. Yep. But yeah, I thought that was a little fun fact that the writers of this amazing show spent their downtime playing that arcade game. All right, let's do some best and worst moments. I want to start with Ben today.
Best moments, I think, I don't know if it's a best moment, but one of the most kind of crazy moments was when Daniel's actually telling Charlotte to leave. And she's like, I'm not supposed to have chocolate before dinner. That was fucked up.
Yeah.
Also, Jack, when he was saying, or when Daniel was saying to Jack, you don't belong here, she was wrong.
Yeah.
And I think the worst moment is probably just when Eloise kills Daniel.
Yeah.
Or basically any interaction with Eloise with her son. She was just every time she's just poo-pooing everything. And she led him on a very tragic path. So, yeah, his interactions with her were terrible.
Right.
She's an awful person.
I know. Well, okay. I'll talk more about what I think about that when we get to rankings, I think. My best moment was actually her line for the first time in a long time. I don't know what's going to happen next. Because I feel like it leaves it open to where I'm like, oh my gosh, is this going to work? Are they causing the incident, or are they stopping the incident? Or if she doesn't know what's going to happen, maybe Eloise actually does have some hope that we can change things. And it's just, I think it's a really impactful moment for that reason. Worst moment, I wrote down Daniel getting shot is obvious. I figured we were all going to probably say that in some capacity. So I also picked another moment. And for me, it's the moment that Sawyer takes Juliet's hand and says, time to go. And it's the way that they look at each other and the absolute like despair that
sort of like resignation.
Yes, right, exactly. That, no one has quite said it out loud to each other quite yet, but you can see on their faces that they realize that this charmed life that they've been living is gone. And I found that kind of gut-wrenching. So, Derek, how about you?
My best moment was actually like finding out that Daniel is Charles Widmore's son.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Big reveal.
I was kind of getting suspicious that it was through the episode, but then when it was confirmed, I was like, holy shit.
What made you suspicious? Was it like the fact that he's funding his research and then he got him on
that he's always involved, comes and sends him to the island, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And of course, it was followed up by the worst moment, which was Daniel being killed by his mother, who had sent him to the very island.
Yeah, it's intense. Christy, how about you?
So my best moment was when Daniel said to Dr. Chang, "I'm from the future."
Indeed.
So worst moment, obviously Daniel being shot, but I also have 3 saddest moments.
Okay.
Daniel talking to Charlotte, Daniel asking Eloise if going back to the island would make her proud.
Oh yeah. That's hard.
And then Sawyer and Juliet asking each other if they still had each other's backs. It was like a questioning moment. Are we still good?
Right.
So that was very sad for me.
Right. I think like maybe going through their heads is, if we leave Dharmaville, can we be the same? Right. Like not just the like external things that are falling apart, but we've only been together as Dharmaville. Can we survive this if we have to go back on the run again? Like that's, I think if I were them, that's what would be in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Shall we do some rankings?
Let's do it.
Let's just keep going with Christy.
So at the bottom of the bottom, I have Radzinski. I just fucking hate him. I put Widmore in the middle, and for me, the worst of the worst this week is Eloise.
Mm-hmm.
At the bottom of the top, I have Hurley because he's kind of hilarious,
Always.
You mean like back in Fonzie times? Jack, because I think Jack is finally not trying to force things that I don't know. I don't know how to explain why I really like Jack in this episode.
We're finally seeing some growth out of him.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it for sure.
Yeah.
And then at the top of the top is Daniel.
Of course.
I'm not fucking anyone this episode. This is not a sexy episode at all. And I am going to kill Eloise.
All right. Ben, what about you?
So third place, I've got Phil, or third from the bottom, I've got Phil. Yeah. The second place, Radzinski, obviously, because he's Radzinski and he's written to be hated. And worst, I've also got Eloise Hawking, because what the fuck? I mean, this woman is, maybe she thinks she's operating on some higher level, and this is all stopping the world from blowing up or something like that. But the fact that she's basically guiding her entire son's life towards this end is, I mean, it's sort of like the essence of tragedy.
Yeah.
I've got third best, I've got Juliet, because she continues to be a trooper, even in the light of this, their kind of daydream ending and all that. She still stands it with poise, and she's just kind of awesome. Second place, I got Sawyer. I think he's also he's in a very difficult position in multiple ways, not just trying to navigate everything's, the life crashing down and all that, but also Kate being back, and I feel like he's trying to do his best. And then at the top, I've got Dan Faraday as the sort of tragic hero.
Absolutely. Fucking kill?
Same. Actually, no. I'm going to kill Daniel's wig, because it really did need to go. And then I'm going to fuck Kate just because I didn't fuck anyone last week. And I kind of felt the same way as Christy. I was like, this is not a sexy episode. But I do like Kate in her little, mechanic's outfit. So.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. The blue jumpsuit is nice on her.
It's kind of hot.
Mm-hmm. I get me one of those.
Those are in style right now.
Yes, they actually are. That, yeah. Who wears a lot of jumpsuits like that? And I love her at Chelsea Handler. She's always wearing what looks like a Dharma jumpsuit, and it looks great on her. She's amazing. Anyways,
fuck, I might want to get a couple pairs of those. Those are, that just looks comfortable, right?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Except when you have to pee, then you're just kind of. I guess it's easier for guys.
Yeah, that's true. I do wear a lot of cute little jumpsuits, and you always have to get naked in the bathroom to go pee.
I should put like a zipper down there,
All right. I'm going to do my rankings. So I have in the bottom, third worst, I have Eloise Hawking, and second worst, I have Charles Widmore. And I have them actually both there reluctantly, because I don't know that I'm not convinced that they had any other choice at this point, because I haven't seen what's going to happen next. I have, but you know what I'm saying. Like, if I'm just taking it from this episode. And so I put them in the bottom, but it was reluctantly, and I had them in the bottom two spaces because maybe they only did what they had to do. In the worst, I have Phil, because he really should have just stayed quiet in the fucking closet, you jerk. Third from the bottom, in the best category, I have Miles. I think for a lot of the same reasons, Christy, that you put Hurley in that spot. Like, they just bring me joy and make me laugh. I have Sawyer in the second spot. I think, he's doing his best. He's trying to be that protector of Juliet and of everyone else. And I feel for him that he's only just realizing that this is futile and everything's falling apart. And then, of course, at the top, I have Dan Faraday, because I love Dan Faraday, and I'm glad he's back, and I'm sorry he's dead. But I think, Daniel, what a life he had. I think he just always did his best, and he really cared about everybody, and his end is shocking and scary. To fucking kill, I'm going to kill Radzinski. Now, I am fucking Dan Faraday twice. I'm having a threesome with two Dan Faradays, and it's not because I'm trying to skew the rankings. It's because I'm going to fuck Daniel with the side eye, and then I'm going to fuck Daniel with the Daniel stare. Two different Daniels. Okay?
Oh, see, I was thinking...
Both of them wearing the wig.
Yeah, I was thinking Daniel graduating with the wig, and Daniel now on the island, kind of.
And it could be one of them will have the side eye Daniel stare, and one of them will have the intense forward Daniel stare. So there you go. Derek, what about your rankings?
My third worst was Eloise, for sending her son back and killing him. Second was Charles Widmore for similar reasons. And my worst was Radzinski for just being Radzinski. And my third best is Jack. I just think he's starting to come around here and, not being a pain in the ass Jack that he was in the past.
Right.
Second best was Juliet. I just kind of feel bad for her because, all of this is coming to an end, but she still, has Sawyer's back.
Right.
And of course, number one, Mr. Daniel Faraday.
Sweep.
Yep. I'm going to... Fuck Kate, because I just had to find someone. So,
oh my God,
Sounds
the
bad.
old trusty.
Yeah, and then I'm going to kill Radzinski.
All right, Benjamin. What do our rankings look like after this episode? Did anything change?
Let's see here. Yes, there are some changes. We have Ethan dropping from second bottom to third bottom with negative 45 points. Radzinski jumping up into second place with negative 58 points, and Charles Widmore maintaining his lead with negative 61 points.
Wow, I wonder if old Neckbeard is going to take the top spot from Charles Widmore.
If he doesn't shave and keeps up his fucking attitude, I'm sure he will. Yeah, and at the winners podium, we do have some changes there. We've got Locke dropping from second place to third place, still with 61 points, no change there. Dan Faraday jumping up into second place from 55 points to 81 points. And Sawyer continuing to, I'd say, well, not really build on his lead, but he's gained 6 points, and he's now at 123 points. So
yeah, still a huge lead. Nobody's going to catch him. No way.
Yeah,
no way.
Daniel's still 42 points below him, and as he's now, we think, dead, probably not going to catch him.
You never know with this island.
That's a good point. All right, let's do some final impressions and say goodbye. Let's start with Benjamin.
I really, really enjoyed this episode. There were obviously a couple plot holes with Daniel's memory that I was a little I'm still wondering about. But the sort of, this closes a lot of loops, and it kind of introduces and closes a lot of loops when it comes to how all this shit started. How Daniel's involved, obviously, his lineage, and how Eloise and what's his name are kind of involved in this, and how they've been involved from the beginning, and how they're kind of the cause of it in many ways. So it was a really cool episode at tying up a lot of I would say kind of almost sort of like secondary character timelines. Say like Daniel, I wouldn't necessarily call him a secondary character, but he's not one of like the original cast. So I felt like this is one of those things that they kind of had to close off before they get into the last season, and we really figure out what happens to the characters that we've been with since season 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Christy, how about you?
While it wasn't a sexy episode, I did think that it was a pretty great episode. There were some stunning reveals. Just the continued love between Sawyer and Juliet, Dan getting shot, him telling Kid Charlotte she must leave the island. There was just a lot going on, and it was awesome.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's an incredible episode. 2 big shocks. Widmore is daddy. Mommy kills her kid. I mean, it's just so intense. And it's just such a great lead in to the end. You know, we've only got 3 episodes left, and I think it creates all of this tension because, you know, did Faraday come back and send Jack on a quest thinking that this is going to be the variable, but really it's like the constant? I mean, did he come back to cause the incident or stop the incident? And it's just like leaving you going, holy shit. And the tension that is building to find out the truth of that at the end of this season, I think is incredible. And this is such a well-placed, awesome episode is how I feel about it. What about you, Derek? Did this episode answer questions or make questions for you, or both?
I thought it was an outstanding episode.
Yeah.
Because we do find out that Widmore is Daniel's father, but, you know, sadly, Daniel is killed by his mother. It did answer a lot of questions, actually, because we learned why the hatch was built, and that an accident in 1977 will eventually lead to the crash of Oceanic 815, or will it? But, yeah, so it really didn't generate many questions this time, but one of my biggest questions is what is this energy they're trying to contain?
Oh, the electromagnetism?
Yes. What is it?
I see. Okay.
How does a hydrogen bomb interact with it, too?
That's my big question.
Right. Hydrogen bomb plus magic electromagnetism.
Yes.
Well, that will be explored. Not next week, though. Next week, it's going to be Wednesday, April 10th. The tulips will be blooming, and we'll be talking about season 5, episode 15. It's called Follow the Leader. It's a Richard Alpert episode, and it's a Christy episode. We follow Richard in 2 timelines and down into the tunnels, plus another what the fuck lost ending. We'll see you next week. Bye.
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 Lost in My 40s is a Space Bear Media production, executive produced and edited by me, Lacey J. Sound engineering, editing, and original music by Benjamin Trimp. Like and follow Lost in My 40s on Facebook and SpaceBear_Media on Instagram and Threads. Plus, follow Space Bear Media on YouTube for extra video content. Or, for everything in one place, go to SpaceBearMedia.com.